Hi, welcome to Steaming It Up Anywhere. I'm Kristen Brennison with NIU STEAM, and today we have Daniel Sohn from Franklin STEAM Academy. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Kristen. Thanks
How
for
are
having me.
you? How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good.
So, tell me what you teach over at Franklin STEAM Academy.
Sure. I am currently the eighth grade writing teacher for Franklin. It's my second year.
Excellent. And so, I was talking to some of the staff, and I've heard about this Shark Tank activity that you do. Can you tell us about the Shark Tank in your class?
Sure. So second quarter, we have a persuasive writing unit. And so we were just kind of coming up with different ideas of what we could do to teach persuasive writing. Um, and I happen to be a very big fan of Shark Tank. I watch it religiously. I watch it all the time. And it just so happened that as we were brainstorming that the Shark Tank inspiration came from just my personal life. And so if should I go into like what exactly it is?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about, because I know I have to say I've watched a couple episodes of Shark Tank and I get the premise, but how does
Yeah,
that work in persuasive writing? What do the students go through?
sure. So the premise of the show is that these people have some kind of claim, which ties into what we try to teach our eighth graders, that they should have a claim, they should have evidence, and then they should have reasoning. And so with the show, we kind of took different elements of the show where the contestants will bring like a business proposal. They'll have this huge idea, this product, and so they'll give a claim about you need this product. Like this is why it's important. And they'll show evidence. Obviously, they'll have demonstrations, and then at the end, when they have negotiations of trying to land a deal, that's where kind of the reasoning comes in. And so we kind of loosely took our claim evidence reasoning model and tried to apply it into the Shark Tank model.
So how do the students, how's engagement with this? I know I hear a lot of teachers struggle with the persuasive writing assignments and getting kids to engage in persuasive writing. How do the students respond?
Yeah, I think one thing that really helped with engagement was that the students were familiar with Shark Tank, and so that was one thing that was really helpful with engagement. Another thing that helped with engagement too was the fact that it was collaborative group work. So students got to gather together and congregate with the people they wanted to work with. And then also part of the idea of the Shark Tank was that students had to brainstorm some kind of product or concept that they thought would be useful to the world. And so they got to have their own independence in choosing how they wanted to go about the persuasive writing. And so once they decided on a product that they kind of like believed in and that they really felt like, oh, this is something that the world needs, I think engagement kind of just kept itself up throughout the project. And so actually, it was actually pretty good.
So, so did you guide them with a problem, or was it really kind of they were looking around at the world around them, identifying a problem, and then trying to figure out a solution?
Yeah, it was very open-ended. I just told them, hey, just come up with a couple of ideas that you think that a problem that you want to fix and why you want to fix it, and come up with some solutions and just go with it.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Did they get to prototype anything, or was it mostly kind of a um, description or descriptive type activity?
Sure. So they did have prototypes. I didn't require it for it to actually work because a lot of these contraptions and gadgets they made were really crazy. But they definitely had prototypes, and they got to work in our makerspace room that we have at our school. And so they had some people got it right away and they were happy with it, but a lot of people also took 2 or 3 tries to get it to look the way they wanted to look.
So this is a great way to really think about STEAM in that broader sense. So in writing class, you've got students identifying problems, coming up with solutions, prototyping those solutions, and then pitching them and selling them. So you really have a lot of those crossovers. Did the kids see those connections?
Yeah, I think once I kind of just like, hey, this is a great segue into like you're doing this, you're doing that. I think one thing that's great about the project was that they were so engrossed in it they didn't actually realize that they were engaging in those concepts. So a lot of the failure-based learning and a lot of the collaboration that they were doing, they were so into it that it just naturally happened.
So how did it work with the makerspace? Did you collaborate with the makerspace teacher? Did you go in? What did that relationship look like?
Sure. The makerspace teacher happened to be one of my close friends, so shout out to Leah Wicks. But we just set up a time together, and she the first couple of days she just kind of went over like, oh, like this is available to you, this is available to you. And then once they kind of got the general sense of what was available to them and the time that they had in the makerspace, they kind of just ran with it. It was really great.
So when you do this again, any changes you want to make, anything you want to expand, or does it seem like it worked really well for you?
Yeah, I think by far, not only just for myself, but for the students as well, I think it was probably our most successful learning unit in the whole year. And as proud of that as I am, I do want to continue to make adjustments. I think one thing was that we actually had school staff as our sharks. And so students got to propose to like our principal, our administrators, and other staff. And so it was really cute. But one thing with the business proposal idea, I mean, it's a writing class, not an economics class. But it was the negotiation piece was kind of interesting because usually in the show it's like has to do with money and equity and things like that. And so I definitely want to take a look at that. I'm not exactly sure how I want to go about that, but to somehow make the negotiation piece where because the students are engaging in counter arguments, and so the sharks will shoot back and be like, oh, what about this, and what are like these are some flaws that I see, like how would you address that? And so having something more structured, I'm still not really sure yet. I think that was just the one part that I was just a little bit dissatisfied in how it went, but otherwise it was great.
Well, and we do that with all of our activities, right? We always look for ways that we can expand it and see where the kids go with it. That sounds like a good way to pull math into it as well, math and financial literacy and economics.
Definitely.
So if you were talking to a teacher and they wanted to try something like this, do you have any advice to either a writing teacher or a makerspace teacher who wanted to try a project like this?
Yeah. I think if you were to try, I mean, I think everyone can have different takes on it, but having it, I think just watching, this would be kind of fun, but you just had to watch a lot of Shark Tank because I pulled almost all of my ideas from Shark Tank. And I think the advice I would have is that for me, initially when I was running with the idea, I got so caught up with like, oh, like this will be so fun, and like I got so engrossed with like all the different like Shark Tank details. I was like, oh yeah, we need to make sure that we have our standards in place. And so when it comes to planning the unit, as long as you have your scope and sequence in mind, once those are all set, it was super easy, and it was great. Yeah.
I think those are tips we usually give teachers too, is, you start with your standards. These projects seem messy, they seem big, but if you start with your standards and your learning target, the rest can kind of fall into place. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but it can.
No, that's really just how it happened. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thanks for sharing this activity. I think I'd love to see some of the kids' examples of some of the products they came up with sometime, but any kind of final tips or thoughts that could help other teachers implement this?
If you're a fan of the show and you need to teach persuasive writing, this was a really, really fun way. I just want to encourage, if you do decide to do it, I just want to encourage you. I just had a handful of students at the end of the unit just saying like, this is probably one of the most fun projects to learn persuasive writing. And so it was really encouraging for me. And it's just nice to hear that just in general, when you're teaching, just from your students, like, oh, like this lesson was really fun. So I was like, oh, thank you. It's good to feel affirmed. So.
Well, thank you so much for taking time and telling us about the activity.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.